Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts. Chapter 1, Episode 4. Sir, a voice called from behind me. A hand grabbed at my arm. I stopped. I tensed every frightened muscle and bit down on the fear. Don't run, don't panic. I turned. A small man stood before me, dressed in a grimy brown uniform and carrying my guitar. More than small, he was a tiny man, a dwarf, with a large head and the startled innocence of Down syndrome in his features. He thrust his guitar at me. Your music, sir. You are losing your music, isn't it? It was my guitar. I realized at once that I must have forgotten it near the baggage carousel. I couldn't guess how the little man had known that it had belonged to me. When I smiled my relief and surprise, the man grinned back at me with that perfect sincerity we fear and call simple-minded. He passed the guitar to me, and I noticed that his hands were webbed like the feet of a wedding bird. I pulled a few notes from my pocket and offered them to him, but he backed away awkwardly on his thick legs. Not money. We are here to help it, sir. Welcome in India, he said, and trotted away into the forest of bodies on the path. I brought a ticket to the city with the Veterans Bus Service, manned by ex-servicemen from the Indian Army. I watched as my backpack and travel bag were lifted to the top of a bus and dumped onto a pile of luggage with precise and nonchalant violence. I decided to keep the guitar in my hands. I took a place on the bench seat at the back of the bus and was joined there by two long-haired travelers. The bus filled quickly with a mix of Indians and foreigners, most of them young, traveling as inexpensively as possible. When the bus was close to full, the driver turned in his seat, scowled at us menacingly, spat a jet of vivid red betel juice through the open doorway, and announced our imminent departure. Tikhain chalo! The engine roared, gears meshed with a growl and tunk, and we sped off at an alarming speed through crowds of porters and pedestrians, who limped, sprang, or sidestepped out of the way with only millimeters to spare. Our conductor, riding on the bottom step of the bus, cursed him with an artful animosity. The journey from the airport to the city began on a wide, modern motorway lined with shrubs and trees. It was much like the neat, pragmatic landscape that surrounded the international airport in my home city, Melbourne. The familiarity lured me into a complacency that was so profoundly shattered at the first narrowing of the road that the contrast and its effects seemed calculated. For the first sight of the slums, as the many lanes of the motorway became one, and the trees disappeared, clutched at my heart with talons of shame. Like brown and black duns, the acres of slums rolled away from the roadside and met the horizon with dirty heat-hated mirages. The miserable shelters were patched together from rags, scraps of plastic and paper, reed mats, and bamboo sticks. They slumped together, attached one to another, with narrow lanes winding between them. Nothing in the enormous sprawl of it rose much above the height of a man.